Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Construct 101. Today we are going to be playing with the bullet behavior. So I had a little play with this before starting the recording, and I don't remember ever using this in one of my games just yet. I think maybe I have in a very basic way, but not. I definitely haven't used it to its full potential, so I don't know the ins and outs. Okay, so let's just add the behavior. And first thing you'll see is there are a few options. So we've got speed, acceleration, gravity, bounce of solid, set angle, step, and enabled. So obviously this is pixels per second. Acceleration is how fast it will speed up to get to that speed. Gravity, self-explanatory. Bounce of solid, so if you make any solid objects it will bounce off. Set angle, now I had a play with this, and that means that if the bullet changes direction, it will also change the way it's facing. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Right now Blocky is going to be going 400 pixels to. Remember when I talked about that every object in Construct kind of starts by default facing to the right? So it's going to travel 400 pixels to the right because that's the default, okay? Now, if I change it to minus 400, then Blocky will rotate around to be going the other way. So that means that's the set angle part. Now if I take that off, Blocky will not rotate and it will just stay facing the same way. Now, just for the sake of making this easier to illustrate, I'm just going to rotate a Blocky this way. So, and we're just going to go around and put Blocky up like this. So now this is going to be up, and basically this is the way I'm intending Blocky to face. Okay, so remember how I said to the right by default. So you rotate Blocky on the main screen. I've rotated it so inside the picture editor, so Blocky is facing towards the direction he'll be traveling. And if I want to change it on the main screen, I just rotate it on the main screen like this. Okay, so now if I set 400, then the Blocky will travel up. Okay, if I turn Blocky around, it'll travel to the right, and so on. Okay, so Blocky, the positive value always means it's going to be traveling in the way it's facing, and negative value means it's going to be traveling the other way. Okay, so we've got that set up. Now let's say we want to try and see what gravity does. Let's set gravity to 100 and press play again. Okay, so as you see, while Blocky is traveling, he's also slowly falling. Now let's add a couple of solid objects in here. Let's just do a black box. Oh, I've put that on the background. Let's just change it back to Blocky. Okay, Blocky's layer. And so bounce of objects. So we're going to, I don't know, add the solid behavior to this. Behaviors, add behavior and solid. We'll talk about all this later. But for the sake of illustration, oh, I've got this layer selected and I keep pasting stuff onto it. So let's make sure we select the Blocky layer instead. Okay, let's see what happens if we bounce of solid. So we're going to do something along these lines. I really don't need to be worrying about this. I don't know why I'm making it so perfect, but let's have a look. Okay, did I tick bounce of solids? No, I didn't. Okay, let's try again. Okay, so basically, I think that it works in a really simple manner. Now, if I don't set gravity to anything, technically Blocky will just be going backwards when it bounces off. Yeah. Okay, so I think this works in a simple manner. Now, if I was going to face Blocky this way, remember how I said that Blocky will always face the way he's facing. Sorry, I travel the way he's facing. And so we'll turn Blocky onto a 45-degree angle, bounce him off the wall, and technically Blocky should bounce off a 45-degree angle and then the same thing again. So let's see. Yeah, that's exactly how I thought it works. Now, obviously, when you add gravity, that adds a little bit of something else to the mix, and that means that the angle will not always be the same, and that's where things get interesting, because you can simulate almost like a real physics object, and that makes it really cool. Now, imagine you've got you know, a whole bunch of projectiles, bullets, whatever, and they're bouncing off walls, and you know, obviously you would want to also maybe add a fade behavior or something along those lines, where after a certain amount of time, is there a collision? Let's just give this a go. I'm gonna see if gonna try and add fade. Okay, and we're going to disable it. And fade out time is going to be 0.25 seconds. Now we're going to try something. It's going to destroy the object after it's faded, but we want to see if we can start the fade behavior after Blocky has bounced off a solid object. So we're going to go to Blocky, and is there a bullet section? Yes. On step, compare speed is enabled. Compare distance traveled, compare speed is enabled on step. Okay, so we could do collision. That's what we're going to do. Okay, there's not obviously looking for something that is not needed. What we're going to do, Blocky collision, on collision with another object, sprite, which is our solid. And then we're going to go Blocky start fade. Start fade. Let's see if this works. Okay, so if you can imagine, I got a whole bunch of objects, bullets. Let's just paste Blocky in a couple of times. Rotate him slightly different angles. We'll do it a few more times. Just to demonstrate what I'm talking about. And on all of these blockies, we're just going to change the speed to, I don't know, 200. That will make it faster. No, slower. We want to make it faster. So 800, okay? Let's see. See what I'm talking about? Like, if you've got, let's say you had a machine gun type enemy or something, and they're just firing constantly, you could just slightly change the gravity angle of each shot. Combining this with gravity, you could have the projectiles bouncing off walls, then falling onto the floor, bouncing off the floor, and then disappearing, so you don't keep too many sprites on screen. So there's so many ways to use this. That's just brilliant. And obviously this could work for, let's say you've got a side-scrolling game, a one-button game, and you've got some enemies traveling towards you, and as soon as you hit them, let's say you've got a Jeep traveling from one side and another Jeep traveling from the other side, and your goal is to jump over the car or something. But if you collide, you explode. So again, another perfect use for this. There are so many ways to and so many things you can do with this. I find this quite intriguing that it's got so many little options, and for such a simple behavior. And again, like I talked about last week, there are many hidden ways and little tips and tricks that you can use to get the most out of these behaviors. For example, with the a direction behavior last week, even though it says a direction, there are many ways to use it for other control schemes. You could create a one-button game with it, with a character that's only moving right. You can make virtual controls on screen, etc. Fake gravity, do Flappy Bird style games. So this behavior is very, very similar. And yeah, I'm gonna have a little bit more of a play with it and see what I can muster up with in one of my games. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this episode and some of these little tips helped you, or me learning how to use this helped you. And I will see you guys next time.